You are watching the number one podcast in the whole entire youth wrestling community, and I'm one of your hosts, Juanzo.
And I'm your other host, Jean-Paul Leek.
Together we are Robert. Welcome to AEW Dynamite on Wednesday. We're not going to say, what that time is. I don't know what that means. It means that the show sucks. That's what that means. JR hates it. A lot of people hate it. And I don't think it was a good show, they tried to recreate what War Games is. They changed the name and all of that. I mean, on paper it seemed good. I mean, there was a lot of blood, so I give that. At least of color. They tried to keep it legit, but in the end, I hated it. I don't like stupid endings like that. So go ahead, Paul. What do you think?
It was definitely a letdown, and it also, the problem was the whole entire show. You have Cody Rhodes, his dad. He created the blood and guts match because they can't say War Games. Obviously, WWE has that copyrighted. So, his dad created the blood and guts match. Arn Anderson was in the blood and guts match. Sting was. They keep hyping it up. And they're making it feel like it's going to be such a spectacle, such a great match that harkens back to these War Games and even some of the great War Games we've seen recently on NXT. And it wasn't. It was just, It looked like you took 10 dudes, threw them in there, and they all just were swinging their fists, throwing, there was no wrestling. There was no wrestling match or anything. It was just guys beating the shit out of each other. And I mean, some people probably like that, but that doesn't equal a good War Games match.
No, especially again, when the ending is like that. No, absolutely not. Because you saw the whole story to me got really, really predictable. And also, again, War Games needs to end in climactic action. It needs to end with something good, like a great sequence. If a good match starts hot, it needs to end in a great sequence. Why? Because if not, we're going to be shitting in the end.
Yeah, exactly. Like that, the air raid crash that, who would Ciampa did to Adam Cole. Yeah, that was a good, stuff like that.
Yeah, the last shot with Adam Cole, then to Eric Young, that was remember with Sanity, that's how they did it. Remember Ricochet and Pete Dunne, all of that, all the War Games. And we're not saying WWE does it the best, but at least it's better because it makes sense. You're waiting for it instead of what we got. Oh, you have to submit. Really? And how they submit, absolutely bad. But thank you so very much for being with us. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for the love you give us every single time. Please comment. Let us know how you guys feel about this. And, we can also argue. We can discuss. So there you go. So also, don't forget to follow us up with NXT. We have new WWE NXT Tag Team Champions and Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. The way it was about time, right?
Yeah, I mean, this show, it was just pretty much NXT, what they normally give you, some good, some bad. Was this good? Was this bad? It's always up for debate. We'll see how it goes, with the new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. But, we actually saw something. We did like LA Knight. He was on TV. He was getting pushed. And we also saw what will either be a fatal four-way or some kind of number one contenders match. But we saw kind of how the main event scene's going to NXT. We have Pete Dunne, Finn Balor, Kyle O'Reilly. One of them, or maybe all three, will be going after the champ carrying cross.
Exactly. So we see a little bit of the path. So please, check it out. Let us know how you guys feel about NXT. The ratings went a little higher. So, I think WWE, the change to Tuesdays is actually working out for them. Let's see what Dynamite does. That's going to be really interesting because a lot of people were saying, it's going to be 1,600,000. That was, I don't think so. The expectation was huge, but now it wasn't massive. So open up. Let's open with the first match. This was bad. This was really bad. Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa against Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Don Callis comes out with Nakazawa, says Kenny Omega is not available. He's not going to show up. Then he attacks from the back. All of that. I mean, the match pretty predictable. Michael Nakazawa gets all the offense of Moxley and Kingston. Kenny Omega in the end and retrieves. Like a heel. Heel champion. He does that. Do we care? No. This should be, like you said, this feud should have been done. And if you want to put the champion against somebody, should have never been, Moxley again. It should have been Eddie Kingston. I mean, at least the promo work for me would have been a little better. But what did you think?
Yeah, and you could have easily told that story after, despite the awful ending of the barbed wire death match, Moxley could have been done, go spend time with his wife, she's pregnant or just gave birth or whatever the hell, but, go spend time with her. And, it could have been Kingston versus Omega. That could have been a good little program, good defense for Kenny Omega, but this Yeah, this match just wasn't good. Like you said, it was Omega, oh yeah, I'm not going to come out. Then he comes out, but it's just Michael Nakazawa getting the shit beat out of him. And then he's like, screw this, I don't care about this. This, this doesn't, I don't, he pretty much is just done, retreats to the back, runs away. And nobody cared. Nobody cared about this match when they announced it this week, and people care about it even less this week. It was just awful, and like we've been saying for a while, they, one of the worst things on the show is the title direction for their World Heavyweight Champion.
Yes, like the title picture looks really, really bad because, again, Mox, like you said, should have been gone. Should have been Eddie Kingston. At least you keep, like, the connection right there. Hey, he's my best friend, quote unquote, that I just formed, like, 3 months ago, and then we were about to, like, kill each other. But that should.
And you could have did something where, like, right now they're kind of building up Brian Cage. Brian Cage, he beat Hangman Page last week. He could say, "Hey, I beat the number one ranked guy besides the champ. I want a title shot." And then we get that at a pay-per-view coming up. But instead, we'll see what we're going to get at that pay-per-view, and it's not going to be very good. And speaking of things not very good, like you see here, every match we always say has to end in an attack, an afterbirth, a beatdown, whatever you want to call it. We see that here because the Elite come out. They beat them up. And does anybody care? Is anybody surprised by this? No. And again, it's just like, can this feud just be over? No, because we're probably going to see these guys next week. Omega or somebody's probably going to interfere in Moxley's match. When he's defending the IWGP United States Championship, he's probably going to interfere, cost Moxley the match, and that'll just add more fuel to that fire, to this feud. But I'm done with Moxley and Omega. It's not, I've seen it. Done. Yeah, nobody cares anymore.
No. I mean, we want to see this match because probably it's going to be a good match. It's going to showcase Moxley in a different light with Yuji Nagata. But, or Nagata, or, however you want to pronounce the Japanese name. But, like, at least they got a small promo from them. So you see, like, the intensity in John. He's like, hey, I respect you. I was trying to invite you to my show. But, of course, you got to call me out. You had to call me a punk. So, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. So we'll see. But, like you said, if Yugi wins with the help of Omega, we don't want to see it. I mean, maybe Yugi wins clean. That's fine. The feud should be over.
And I think he will win just because Moxley's not he can't defend that belt in Japan. I'm sure as much as they would like. So drop it to this guy. He's a legend in the business. They even said he wrestled on WCW. Back when WCW was around. So he's been a veteran in this sport for 20 plus years. So give the belt to him. Let him take it back to Japan. That would be legit. But I want to ask you a question. What do you think when Moxley does this He does this really he has a bead of sweat going down his back. I'm like, that doesn't make you look like a badass. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. He does that in his speech. He's just like, I'm the toughest man in wrestling. And I'm like, what is that?
He's just, like shaking it off.
I'm like, dude, what? I'm like, no, dude.
Bothering him, he's trying to move, I guess, from the vaccine, your arm hurts. So he's like, okay, the medicine goes down to the arm. I guess that's what it is. But like you said, it needs to change so that way, that title goes back to Japan, and John Moxley, I guess, he just can stay on AEW. There's no reason for him to go to Japan if he's not going to go against, the.
No, and you know what? They keep getting beat up by the Bucks. Why don't you just take him out of the main title picture, put him and Kingston as a tag team, and have them go after the Bucks?
That would be also better. Exactly. So they didn't do that, but at least in the women's division is a little bit better. They're making more sense. You've been calling for this feud forever. At least 4 months ago, you said this is the greatest heel in AEW. I will even say also even better than MJF. Britt Baker, DMD. So finally, she's going to get her championship opportunity against Hikaru Shida at Double or Nothing. I'm excited about this because this is the time that Hikaru's finally going to drop the title to Britt Baker. Hikaru sometimes, she started hot, but, because of all the lack of, really good opponents for her, now she's, is irrelevant, I should say. So, at least Britt is going to return some of the legitimacy of this title because it never really became legit. It was never relevant, this title. But
and also let's
reach the new heights.
And let's think about it. And this is no offense to any of the past champions, but Riho, I don't think, can really speak English. Nyla Rose held it for what felt like 2 weeks. And then you have Hikaru Shida, whose English isn't very good. How can they get that title over?
Yes.
How can you cut promos? How can you do all this stuff and really get that title over? You know who's one of the best talkers in this division, men or women? Britt Baker. You know who's also getting more and more legit in the ring as we see them? Britt Baker. She's the perfect person to hold this title. And a belt like this is good on a heel, especially because I feel you have a lot more babyface, women than you do heels. So put it on a heel champion. She's your best, performer in this division besides a Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb, but they are splitting their times in, other companies, or, Serena Deeb might still be hurt. But, Britt Baker, she needs to win it. Nothing against Shida. She was a good champ, but like you said, She already hit her peak as champ, and now she's going on the downhill. So
and like for
let her
example,
drop
Paul, also like we already like have you, like you said, you have Thunder Rosa, you have Statlander. So you have two feuds, two baby faces that can go against Britt Baker. So there you go. And then Sheeta can get a break, maybe go somewhere else, or just stay off for a few weeks. She likes to try other things, acting. Who knows? Do something different and give the title to Baker. She's going to be in action in a little bit. But first we go to this. Of course he has to put himself over. That's normal. He will never put over like the leader of a new faction, knowing that if you have a new faction, you need to put the leader over. Why? Because then the faction becomes believable. No, they never do that. They don't like to do that. This guy, doesn't know how to book, the storylines the way that they should. The fight in the factory went out of business really, really quick.
Somebody shut down the factory. There was some kind of health violation, and they had to shut it down. But no, this was bad because everything you just mentioned, and you have a pay-per-view coming up May 30th, right? Give QT Marshall the win here. Maybe, his guys can come down and they can grab Arn Anderson and hold him and be like, we're going to beat this guy up. And then Cody gets distracted. QT Marshall, since he's such a good wrestler, he has a training school. He can get Cody in some, crazy roll-up, schoolboy, whatever, 1, 2, 3. He gets the win here. Then they throw Arn Anderson to the side and they beat up Cody. See, that kind of beatdown would make sense because he always says, I'm sick of being in your shadow. I want to take you out. That is when like a beatdown is called for to make sense. And then, when Cody can get his win at the pay-per-view. Yeah. You build it up. He shouldn't get the win in the first match because then it's done. It's over. And also, at the pay-per-view to make it feel special, that's when you could have did like the strap match. Nothing against the late Brody Lee, but that match didn't call for a strap match. That didn't make any sense. Or the dog collar match. That didn't make any sense. That feud didn't. Well, I don't really, because they beat him down on stage or whatever. Everybody gets beat down on stage, so who cares? But this match, I didn't care for. I didn't see it say no DQ anywhere. Maybe I was wrong, but you have Arn Anderson beating up QT Marshall on the outside. That makes QT look like a loser. The ref stands there. The refs are the biggest losers in this entire company. And, eventually Cody, he hits the crossroads, but I believe QT kicked out of the crossroads, right?
Cody kicked out of the tombstone pump.
No, QT hit a crossroads on Cody, I believe it was. And then, Cody kicks out of that. And then they do this tombstone spot where the reversal. Eventually Cody gets it, hits it, and then, goes into the figure 4. Eventually QT taps out.
Also he did hit the crossroads.
He did hit one on QT?
And he did kicked out. And that's why I got mad, because when he goes to the figure 4 and then done. So what is the point of you kicking out of the best move of the finisher and then you just die to this?
Well, no. Yeah, maybe maybe the figure 4 is his new finisher because Dusty used to do the figure 4 too. Maybe it's, to be like, oh, my dad, that's the only reason why people like me is because of my dad, because I'm really a bullshit guy who always puts myself over. Oh, wait, that's like my dad too. Yeah, but it was bad, and then at the end of it, we see Anthony Ogogo. He does the gut shot, and Cody sells it like he got shot with a bullet. And then they put the Union Jack flag over him. And what is this going to continue, or is Cody just going to beat Ogogo in a week or two on free TV? And then
that's the one thing again. Look, remember, like the leader should be like the focal point of the group, not like it's like for example you put Wardlow. And, as the main guy, like, yeah, he's the force, the powerhouse, but like, he's not going to have the lead role. Should have been QT for the, And now it's going to be a Ogogo, and then that's probably going to be the match of the pay-per-view. And then, like you said, Cody's going to go over, and the factory, again, like you said, they're going to close it down really early. I didn't like this, I'm just tired that, like, they can never book this long-term, and they cannot at least show Cody in a different light. Lose some matches, right? Lose.
Yeah, exactly. I mean... Especially because you have the pay-per-view coming up, and that's when Cody could get his big win over QT. That would make sense. At least I think it would.
Yeah.
But hey, what do we know, right? We're not the son of a billionaire who has a wrestling company.
So. Exactly. So that's what it is. And like talking about that like that, you always mention these things, and you're always right. And when it comes to this, we had Scorpio Sky and also Ethan Page cut in a promo. They're not doing anything. They did not attack anybody. But all of a sudden, Darby Allin is the one that does the jump. So babyfaces also jump people, right? So then he starts beating the mob, but then Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, they take care of him, and then they make him go through like some stairs, and then he's done. So like now we're going to say that they play the angle that he's injured because he fell through those stairs and all of that. Of course, I know you hated this, and so did I, because it doesn't benefit anybody. Because
No,
we're going to talk about in a little bit, but go ahead.
Yeah, there's only one person, and we can just skip around the segments and mention, Miro right after this because I'm going to lead right into it. But it makes it, if they do it right and, Darby Allin sells this injury, then it benefits Miro here. But, this whole thing, they're pretty much calling out Sting and Darby Allin. They said, we're not afraid of you. Like, I forget if it was Sting or Darby they were talking about, but they're like, you only wear the face paint because we put a big, gash in your forehead, to cover that up, saying how tough they are. And, like, they're not afraid of Sting or Darby Allin. So maybe they're going to have a match with them or something. I don't know. But then Darby, they just keep, running these guys down, talking shit on them. And Darby jumps them. So Darby, like you said, he initiated this. He could have just waited for a match. No, he jumps, he beats him down, and then they take the upper hand because obviously numbers game, and they throw him down the steps. And commentary's like, oh my God, stop, you've done enough. And I'm like, Darby asked for this. That's like, he put his hand in fire, burned his hand, and you have the parent yells at the fire, why'd you burn my kid? Why'd he put his hand in the fire?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know who Darby thinks he is. Now, if he would have went there with a gun, Brian Pillman style, like, let's go, then okay. Then, yeah, the gun's the great equalizer, but not, jumping these guys. Exactly. Yeah, so it was just bad. It was stupid.
Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, if this guy shows out of nowhere, and then he's like, oh, I have a championship opportunity with him next week. So what's the point of the beatdown? Because in the end, are you going to do the same thing to, like, Miro? No.
Yeah, and especially if they mention that, Darby Allin's not 100%, he's beat up, and he still beats Miro, then that just buries Miro.
Oh, well, and it's going to be from 6 feet under to like 12 feet under because he's already been buried. At least they're trying to give him a push. If he doesn't win, then you know what? You should stay in WWE feuding with Lashley because at least you were closer to your wife. That would have been a lot.
I think Miro's got to win next week. Hopefully, if they do one thing right and they're smart, they do that because, then he's a heel champ. And then, I don't know, maybe they give it back to Cody after the pay-per-view.
Exactly. At least, something different like that. Let's talk about, like we said, like the best talker in the women's division and probably AEW as of now. DMD, Britt Baker, she was in action pretty quick, for what, 3 minutes against Julia Hart.
Julia Hart, yep.
Yeah, really cute girl. Reminded me of Alexa Bliss at the beginning of the NXT career with all like all the sprinkles and all of that. Valerie Baker did what she was supposed to do. She got a really nice win here. Kind of like hypes what she's going to do to Hikaru Shida and Double or Nothing. So good stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was real quick, lockjaw, tap out, okay, just hyping her up. I mean, we really didn't need it, but, it at least it was quick.
No, you got to see like at least the number one contender. Just hype it up a little bit. So that's fine. Exactly. So now let's move on, Paul, to like something that you said you already saw a mistake here. And you're going to tell me what it is. Because it says 4-way tag team eliminator match. SCU, Jurassic Express, the Varsity Blondes right there with our boy Brian Pillman Jr., Dark Side of the Ring on Thursday. Don't forget, 2-hour episode. And the Acclaim.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Right there that I'm looking for. Eliminator.
Yes. Right? And SCU, last week they pretty much said, they called out the Young Bucks, saying, you guys are bullshit, you're not the guys we knew, pretty much calling them out, all this stuff. And so we kind of figured they would be the ones to win it. And also they said if they lose a tag match, they're going to split up as a team. So again, we probably figured they were going to win. And now, for some reason, AEW likes to throw eliminator in their matches. Remember when like Omega was having the World Championship eliminator matches? So we don't know what that really meant, and the Young Bucks would have like the same thing. But it was if you put multiple teams or multiple guys or multiple women, whatever, in a match, and it says eliminator, I assume that means one team gets pinned, then it goes down to 3 teams, then to 2 teams, then to a winner, right? No, I guess not. I guess I don't understand the English language. I guess I better go back to school. I don't know what's going on. But this match, I mean, it wasn't bad, but we see, it goes on, some good action. And then because it really wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be, we just see SCU, they pin Brian Pillman Jr., ding, 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 bell rings, and it's done.
Yeah, and
so I guess no eliminator. I guess it was one fall to a finish. So that was kind of underwhelming for me as I'm watching it. I was like, okay, that's why I didn't understand like the Britt Baker, all this stuff. I'm like, why have all this stuff? It really should have just been this match and blood and guts and, really tell this story. But then when you see it was one fall to a finish, it's like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, if they put eliminator, yeah, exactly. They should be careful with the wording. because like it makes us think something else, and then it doesn't happen. Then we're like all confused and like, what's going on? What's going on? That was the main thing. I mean, the SCU wins, like you said. We already knew that they were going to win. Once they got that promo in the box, that was it. You know that they were going to win. I mean, good action from like Jurassic Express. They're always pretty decent. Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus is really good. Although when they did the double, remember the choke slams, you could see the collaboration because you can show Grayson and you know Gibbs or you can show and also Pillman because they were like, oh, it's my turn to jump. Yeah, okay, all of that. But in the end, SCU, they did a pretty good job. Kazarian and also Christopher Daniels. They're going to be against the Bucks next week, so it's going to be a pretty loaded Dynamite. They like to do that. I mean, are they going to win? No. Like you said, maybe Eddie Kingston and John Moxley will be the ones dethroning the Young Bucks. We'll see what happens. But at least, a pretty good match next week for the titles is going to be okay.
Yeah, and I also don't know why you need to do this whole, they're going to lose, or if they lose, they're going to split up. I don't know why you need to do this. What's the point? Do you have singles plans for either of these two guys? No, probably not. And they can't even team with the other guy because he's heel with Ethan Page. So it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I would love to see SCU win it, but I don't see it happening. Yeah,
exactly. So boom, the show went on, and let's talk about like War Games. No, Blood and Guts. Like we got to see Undisputed Era against like Sanity. No, Inner Circle against the Pinnacle, and I mean. Match-wise, like you said, like I think at the beginning it was okay. Same ruling, pretty much the same. The only thing that submission and over they had to submit. I don't think it was pinfall. I'm not.
No pinfall. It was submission.
So they changed it up like the way it was. So from WWE. So what did you think overall? Give me just a very few synthesis of that.
I mean, overall, I thought, like you said, in the beginning it was decent. Sammy Guevara was going to start this thing. Dax also started because he said, hey, I'm the guy who can go the longest. I got, pretty much I can go the distance in this thing. So he started for the Pinnacle, and it was good. Like Sammy Guevara, you saw like a lot of that intensity. Commentary was saying the same thing we always say. Oh, this kid, we know how good he is. He's finally really showing it to all of us and everything. And, Sammy's great. And then, the Shawn Spears came in. They have a history, a feud, Sammy and Shawn Spears. They're going at it with the chair and everything.
That was really cool.
But then when Ortiz came in, I felt like as soon as it was 2-2, the Pinnacle just completely just dropped off like the map for me. All Inner Circle. This entire match was just all. There was no back and forth. There was no, this team has the advantage. Now this team. No, it was just all Inner Circle from that point on, in my opinion. I mean, guys were throwing punches and beating each other up, but if you want to go, who had the advantage? If you go black or white here, no gray, it was all for the Inner Circle, and I didn't like that. And especially when we see, it kept going to picture-in-picture, which takes you out of it. Because I don't care how great the action is if you put it in a 1-inch by 1-inch square on your, obviously bigger than that, but if you put a tiny little square on your TV, how can you be excited? How can you watch?
You lose interest a lot. It's absolutely true. It's like, you're getting into it. You're trying to follow the action. Don't forget, we'll be right back. And also they did like at least in 2 commercial breaks, they went completely on commercial.
Yeah.
So, like, how am I supposed to get invested into this? They have the money. They can just go with like picture free. Why not? They did it in the first Dynamites. So why can't you just do that when you have like a special match? For example, like Paul, did you like at least Santana and Ortiz with like the face paint? Like you always mention when they have a big match, something really new, at least they go with a different gear and all of that. I did like that also. But like you said, it's just like some parts is like it's hard to get in it when you're in it because like you just want to keep going and no, picture done. And like you said,
and nobody, nobody really on Pinnacle to me felt legit in this match. Like, it wasn't like Dax and them, like, they didn't, Dax and Cash, they weren't really going after Santana and Ortiz and having, oh my God, this is great stuff. They set him up for the Spike Pile Driver, but then they got Spike Pile Drive themselves. You had Sammy play the role of Tully. He jumped off the top and spiked them. So they got hit by their own move. To me, done. Like we said, that's the ultimate embarrassment to get, hit with your own finisher. Yes. And they did it on the wooden, boards on the ring when they peeled up the mat because, when did they do that? Oh, they did that in picture and commercial. They didn't do that where we all could have seen it and everything. You have, they have the turnbuckle. Like, I believe it was Shawn Spears was going to hit somebody with it. I forget who. But then, they knocked down Shawn Spears. Then Jericho had it and was beating him up. And at this point, there's 15 minutes left in the show. You have everybody's in the ring, and the Pinnacle is just getting the shit beat out of them. And I'm like, it shouldn't be this one-sided with 15 minutes to go.
Yeah,
It's like how can they make a comeback?
The one that bled the most, it was actually the Pinnacle. See how
and speaking of blood, we have a lot of people reporting. We saw it. Some of the Rope Break family saw it. Everybody said you could. Yeah, you could clearly see the blading and shit. And like we've said it since the beginning, and it's gotten, I guess, a little better, but not fine-tuned. Is just the camera work is bad.
Oh yeah, you said, because you've been the one that like started out AEW like the covering the whole thing, and it's true. Like you said, like I want to shout out Tom Leibel. He mentioned that to us. He said it like 3 times he could catch Dags with like the blade, Jericho. I think it was also MJF. He mentioned those, and I said, please do a better work. When it comes to that, because if you can see it, it's like, well, I know what they're going to do, and then they all of a sudden the spot comes out.
And speaking of like spots and bullshit, how about like when Guevara kept jumping from rope to rope, and then he would do a move, and when he did it early on, he slipped and fell, and I think he was done for like at least 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So like
again, they're doing dangerous, stupid shit, concussing themselves. And speaking of stupid shit, like when Guevara, it looked good. But when he did the coast to coast on Sean Spears and he kicked that fucking chair into his face, man, that was like, maybe that was a good camera angle, but that looked like he really kicked it in his face. And I'm like, Sean Spears is probably done. He's concussed. And for what?
Then,
let me just have brain damage for what?
And I'll tell you at the end of the match what I think about that. But anyway, let's go to finally all teams. It's pretty much like war games. The 2 guys started, like the event was from the Pinnacle. Finally, they're all like all together in the ring. War game starts. Again, the action, that's when they divided and all stuff. The sequences really good. We got to see also like Wardlow and Hager. This was okay. He applied the ankle lock. Remember me also when like Dax didn't know the rules of the match and he goes right to the pin?
Yeah, right in the beginning when he goes to the pin. He was probably like, he's probably still in NXT mode. He's probably like, oh, okay, legit. This is how war games works. And it's like, no, it's blood and guts. There's no pins.
So there you go. But like, MJF, like they opened himself up with like a fork. All of that. I mean, the blood, I will say, at least we got to see that there was also you saw that, Paul, like the viewers' discretion advised. So like, they did the rated R thing, so just to prevent. I mean, it's okay. In the end, Soul of the Air on the top. That was a cool,
which again, a big spot that was happened on a commercial break that we didn't see, not even picture in picture. Like you said, when full commercial, Tully Blanchard, he kind of intimidated one of the refs. He stole the key from him and he gave it to MJF. That's how MJF was able to get out of the cage and climb to the top. But we didn't even see it.
Exactly.
So I like that. That was bullshit. That's a moment you have on TV, not during the commercial break. So, bad time management, bad just everything kind of management on that. And like you said, Jericho gets the walls of Jericho. He kicks him in the nuts to get out of it. Salt of the earth. He eventually stops putting the hold on him. I don't know why. He just let it go. It's like, just hold it. Nobody's telling you to stop. So, but then eventually he goes and he's like, I'm going to throw Jericho off the edge. It's done. If you guys don't quit, I'm tossing him off the cage.
Is he like number 2 here, Paul?
I think so. I think he was eating some Chipotle or something.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, because they had the whole like the sauce right there split out in his face. But like you said, he's about to throw him, and he's like, "You guys stop out. If not, I'm going to do it." And the Inner Circle just stops out. That bothered me the hell out of it. That was the worst thing.
And also, this whole time that he's doing this is open. The only person who you saw kind of make an attempt to climb up there was Jake Hager. They had the Inner Circle completely. They had Pinnacle completely wiped out. Pinnacle was done. You're telling me they couldn't climb it? Yeah. See, that would have been a better visual if they were climbing it. Oh, they're about to get MJF, and then you have the Pinnacle, and they start throwing them down, or they power bomb them from climbing the cage, into the ring onto the wooden floorboards, and they lay out all of the Inner Circle. Instead, it was just the Inner Circle guys were just standing there watching this all go down.
Yes, really, really bad. And like you said, in the end, they end up submitting, all do it. And MJF, we knew this. You knew it. Everybody that has watched 5 minutes of professional wrestling in their lives, they knew that he was going to throw him anyway.
Yeah,
there was no person in God's green earth that they didn't think that he wasn't going to do it. So in the end, he does it. Boom. They win. Pinnacle gets over. They win the match, and he throws him. And that's steel, right, Paul? or like should have said this, Velez just like bought his carton. He's just, like
he threw him through a bunch of like cardboard boxes with, I'm sure, a bunch of pillows and shit underneath. If you're gonna do that, at least paint the bottom of the cardboard. At least paint that too. The same color, or I don't know, just don't throw them off the thing, or I don't know. It just looked bad. Again, their production. Same thing as the barbed wire death match with the sparklers. This is like the same thing, a big letdown. You throw this guy, at least like you said, when Taker threw Rikishi, at least it was in the back of a truck with, a bunch of hay or whatever was on there. I mean, this was just, it was just a very anticlimactic finish, and then I felt like throwing Jericho through a cardboard stage was just like a middle finger to all the fans.
Yeah, and like for example, at least the one that sold it was, I think, Ortiz, because Ortiz goes with the X sign. He was, like, oh, okay, he's done. Hey, like bring somebody, bring help. At least he was selling it. But also for me, this doesn't resemble Inner Circle and Pinnacle. This resembles MJF and Jericho, because both leaders had the main spots throughout the last 10 minutes of the match. And the other 4, nobody gives a fuck.
No.
Nobody gives. It should have been what? In the end, everybody tries their hardest for, the submission or something like that. No. It always it revolves into MJF and Jericho. So the other 4 is just, we don't have anything to do. We have contracts. We need time to watch. Something to do. No? And in the end, he goes, thank you. The visuals are, for me, okay. I don't know, and this MJF is establishing himself. But again, that's my complaint also, because it's like you're focusing on MJF, not in the group. And
where does MJF go from here? Is he going to challenge Omega? Is he going to go in the title picture? Oh, no, we already see what happened when he was in the title picture. You had a shitty campaign. Oh, yeah, me and my lawyer and all this stuff against Moxley. That complete flopped. So where does MJF go from here?
Yes. And, because at least I like that, like I said, he goes, thank you. So, like, you get to see, oh, yeah, I got the torch from him, all of that, whatever. But in the end, Paul, no picture or no camera shot, no camera angle from, like, the whole Pinnacle celebrating. No. It was just this guy, bloody as hell. That's fine. But, like, so what is that? Should I put it in the title, MJF wins the match, or the Pinnacle? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You need, like, the whole visual is all the members of the group, because everybody participated, everybody helped out to win it, not MJF. Why you have to turn it into MJF and Jericho? Just have the feud and don't have the other guys involved.
Yeah, then just do a steel cage match. Do like whatever they're gonna call Hell in a Cell. You know what I mean? Just give their version of that.
Blood and Cell. Blood and Cage. Yes. So that was like, at least those were, like, for me. If they would have done it a little better at the end, I would have been much more comfortable, with this at the ending of the match, but they didn't do that. So in the end, this is what we see. The MJF completely like.
And what did you said you were going to say something about that coast to coast spot?
Oh yeah, the coast to coast, like you said, like he does it, and Sean Spears is like, you could, like you said, concuss him. The guy is just like done, and he never got up. And there was 15, 20 minutes of it. Again, that's what I'm saying. Like, so they did the spot, so like everybody's just completely done. No, and in the end, we've seen other war games that in the end, everybody's just like at least trying to do something. They're like crawling, doing something.
And that's what I said. Why couldn't you have, these guys have it be even, and at the end, you have everybody trying to climb the top of the cage. Oh, we got to stop Jericho. Oh, we got to stop MJF. And they're all climbing. They're all throwing each other down, beating each other up, and they're trying to get up there. Instead, they're just like,
yeah, no.
They're just,
yeah, no.
They're just watching, and
it's bad. No, exactly. So this is the review, family. Hopefully they do it better. Like you said, they have what? Strike one was what?
Was the barbed wire death match, or whatever it was called. And then we have this was strike 2. So for like big, bloody, we're going to blow up the ring. Well, you didn't blow up the ring. Oh, this match, is going to be the craziest thing ever. It's going to be like, war games, but times 100. Nobody's going to care about war games after this. No, we're going to care about war games a lot more now, because at least we can go to that and go, at least this is legit.
Yes, exactly. But, so,
let's see what strike 3 is. Oh,
Cassidy, because we didn't actually mention this, but in the end, Kenny Omega, he had a thing, like he came out and he was addressing this situation that he has with like the number one contender, because there was clearly no direction on the number one contender. So Tony Giovanni, he's talking, he mentions that there's going to be a number one contender next week, and it's going to be Pac against Orange Cassidy. So Orange Cassidy comes out. Kenny Omega completely destroys the character. And actually, I really like that version of Kenny Omega. He says, you're a bootleg of me. Why? Because, you got my glasses. You think that you're legit because of that. You can get him like for 800 or, 1,000 in the black market. And he's like, but, in the end, you will never going to be championship material. So in the end, I'm always going to beat you. And, you're just like cool. That's the thing. But you will never be able to beat me. And we'll fight whenever. And we will do whatever. I really like what Kenny Omega destroy, Orange Cassidy. And it's not, I don't hate Cassidy, but like, how can I feel with somebody that doesn't talk? That's all I can say.
Yeah, and he said pretty much sign the match with Pac because I know Pac's more legit. Orange Cassidy's bullshit, and then that's when Cassidy came out, like you said, he was cutting him up and everything. But the way they're setting it up, Cassidy's probably going to win because you know how that match is going to go. Death Triangle's probably going to be out there. The Best Friends are probably going to be out there. It's going to be a big cluster. He's probably going to hit the beach break 1, 2, 3, win it. And then we're going to see this as the main event of Double or Nothing. And is this a main event match? Absolutely not.
No. Like Cassidy is like his character is really cool. Like he's really fun to watch, and also like he appeals to a lot of the younger audiences. But going against Kenny Omega and thinking that he's going to dethrone him, I don't think that does. I don't think that you can actually sell me on that idea. I don't think you can do that. I don't think so. So family, this is the review that we have for AEW Blood and Guts. Thank you so very much. Don't forget, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, and also give the video a like. Hey, the comment, let us know. Hey, I love Blood and Guts. I love this more than what I will do War Games. Okay, we can actually discuss. Let's get into this fire thing. You should, we should, or we work. That's the thing. So, family, thank you so very much. Where they can find us also, Paul?
And make sure you follow us, Rope Break, on Facebook, the OG Rope Break on Twitter, Original Rope Break on Instagram, and, of course, right here on YouTube, the home of the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, the Original Rope Break.
Family, tomorrow, NXT UK, a show that, like, never disappoints. That's cool. That's why you were so hyped for that. So we have one more thing that is left to say, and that is...